Today I will be bringing you my first midterm 2026 election prediction. Today we are going to be doing the 2026 Senate. And yeah, let's go ahead and get started. So we'll go ahead and do off the safe states, which will be Louisiana, Oklahoma, Kansas, I believe. Well, here, let me get my maps pulled up over here. Kansas will probably not be safe because Kansas is safe. South Dakota, Idaho, Wyoming will be safe for sure. The incumbent senator of Wyoming is retiring, but Wyoming's only state representative is has decided to run for the Senate. So this will definitely help the Republicans in Wyoming, and I do believe Wyoming will be a safe state. Uh, M- Mississippi and Arkansas should both also be safe. Let me go to my Yeah, Mississippi should probably be safe. Alabama, their incumbent senator is retiring to run for Senate, I mean to run for the governor of Alabama, but it's still safe. South Carolina's honestly, South Carolina because Tim Scott is definitely a very popular governor, but we go to South Carolina in 2020, which I do believe is similar. I could definitely see South Carolina being likely. Although in 2022, Tim Scott did win it by 25%. Um, Graham only won it by 10%. And also, Graham is very buddy buddy with Trump, which may not be the best look for him, especially with Trump's disapproval rating being negative 10%. So honestly, I don't think South Carolina is a safe state. I do think West Virginia will probably safe state. Same with Kentucky and Tennessee. And then let's see and then after that, I do believe Alaska will probably stay a safe state. In 2020, Republicans won it by 12%, and in 2022, Republicans still won it by 7%, but that's because it was two Republicans that ran against each other. So I do believe Republicans are taking Alaska, and if we even look at the presidential level, Trump won it by 13% in 24, and even in a bad Republican year, Trump still won it by 10%. So let's get back to our 2020 map. And now we're going to go safe states for Democrats, which I do believe will be Oregon, Illinois, Virginia, New Jersey, Delaware, Massachusetts, and Rhode Island, most likely. And then I'm gonna go ahead and say New Hampshire too. As long I do not they, mm, but their incumbent senator is retiring, so that may, and I could see Democrats not focusing on New Hampshire too much. But I'm gonna go ahead and say New Hampshire is safe. I could see New Hampshire being more in that 8% margin and being likely. Now after that, we'll go over to our likely states, which I'm gonna look at the 2020 map. Yes, which I do believe South Carolina will be likely for Republicans. Montana, Montana has definitely been shifting Democratic a little bit as we look in the 2024 Senate race, where Republicans only won by 7%, and that was a very heavy Trump year, and 2020. So I do believe Montana will be a likely. And then looking around, let's see. Oh, are there any polls on Iowa? Let's see. Oh shoot. Should have probably had this pulled up. With Trump's disapproval rating and with their incumbent senator is retiring. Yes, retiring from public office, so that will definitely hurt Republicans with a having a new face. Iowa Republicans have not been doing the best in the most recent years, so I don't even think Iowa's likely, and I don't think Nebraska's likely either. Now, now for I do believe Florida will be a likely though, as Marco Rubio, even though he is in the cabinet now and isn't running, the incumbent senator now for Ohio is Ashley Moody, which they seem to be doing. Trump won it by 13% in 24. Even in 2020, Trump still won it by 3%. And if we go over to Senate, Marco Rubio still won it by 16%. And in 2018, Rick Scott won it by just the slimmest margins. But I still believe Florida's probably likely, probably goes to the Republicans by around 8%, and I don't see the Democrats putting a major amount of funding into Florida. Now, one state I do believe will be very good for Democrats is North Carolina, as Roy Cooper, he's never lost a statewide race. He has been running in statewide races since the year 2000. He's ran in 2000, 2004, 2008, 2012, 2016, 2020, and 24. Never lost. He's been doing statewide races his whole career. He only retired in 24 from governor, and now he's back. Very popular governor. I do believe North Carolina could possibly go in that likely column. Um, Colorado's safe, of course. And then I do believe New Mexico could possibly go into that safe column. Republicans are losing a ton of ground with Hispanics. And especially in 2024, we saw New Mexico on the Senate level go to a Democratic senator by 10 points. And if we go to 2020, Biden won it by 10 points. And then Harris only won it by 6 points, but Senate level 10 points. Do believe New Mexico will be safe. So back on Roy Cooper, I do believe North Carolina is a interesting race and could possibly be likely for Democrats if Trump's disapproval rating continues to plummet. Texas is probably not a likely. If we go, let's search up Texas. Here we go. If Ken Paxton wins the Texas Senate, or Republican primaries, I do believe Texas will be within a three point margin. If the incumbent senator does win the Republican primaries, I do believe Texas could be in that 7% margin, which polls are saying right now that the incumbent senator will win. Right now, if Kim Paxton wins, it's going to be in that 3% margin. And if the incumbent senator wins, it's going to be in that 5 to 6% margin. I'm going to go ahead and say Iowa will also be in that 3% margin, and same with Ohio will be in that 3% margin. As here's an Ohio poll, as we see as of December 2024. More people seen with Vivek likely being the winning the Republican primaries. We're seeing that this sort of big Democratic shift. Although I do believe a lot of funding will come into Ohio, I don't think Vivek will lose Ohio as we get closer to 26. Although Ohio could be won by less than 1%, but the election takes place today. I think more. I don't know. Ohio's definitely gonna be close. But in 2024, Trump won it by 11. In 2020, Trump won it by 8. And in 2016, Trump won it by 8. I really think Ohio's probably going to Republicans by around 2%. I do believe Nebraska will be within that 3% margin, possibly. As we saw the independent senator candidate come in within 6 points, with Trump being more unpopular than ever now, I do believe he can come within 3 to 4 points. North Carolina, I do believe, will be going Democratic by around 3 points. Minnesota will probably go Democratic by around 3 points, although in 2024, the Senate candidate won it by 15%. In 2020, it was by 5%. And the incumbent senator is retiring from public office, so this could possibly hurt Minnesota. Minnesota's probably more likely. A, it's probably more likely a likely though. I do believe Michigan will be won by very slim margins, but I do believe Michigan will be won by the Democrats. Polling is looking very good for John Oswald. Here we go. Nope, not this one. Shoot, Georgia. Here we go. As we're seeing John Oswald winning by roughly 2 to 3 points, I do believe Georgia will be won by around that 2.5% margin. And then in Maine, Susan Collins, very old, running for her sixth term. I do think, and Susan Collins, I believe, voted against the Big Beautiful Bill. But with just how unpopular Trump is, and historically Maine is a blue state, if we look in these, well, this district is, well, trying to think, do I want to give this to Susan Collins? I mean, in 2024, Democrats won the Senate by 17 points. We go back to 2020, Susan won it by 8 points. I think a strong Democratic candidate could easily win the Senate race. Not easily, very close. But I do believe Maine is flipping from Collins' control. Anyway, here is my 2026 Senate predictions. Thank you all for watching, and peace out.